Everybody? We are back again, episode 6, full tilt into the NFL season and the divisional series in the MLB. We got basketball preseason starting up, so right around the corner of that peak period when we got our three major sports to talk about. But as of now, baseball is probably going to take the bulk of our focus just because both of our teams are in the postseason and both in competitive series in the divisional series. But before we get to that stuff, why don't we get to our football and talk about those teams? We usually start with the Cowboys. So Matt, an ugly win. I actually, both of our teams had pretty ugly wins, but wins nonetheless. Cowboys keeping pace with Washington's surprise team, I think, coming out of the NFC this year. But yeah, Matt, it was an ugly, wet, rainy game in Pittsburgh. But I gotta say, through it all, this is a game the Cowboys would have typically lost in recent
You're
years,
telling
but
me.
I have to tip my cap to that team and to Dak. They got it done when they needed to, made big plays down the stretch. But I'll give the floor over to you, Matt. Break down that sloppy win that you guys had.
Well, it was definitely, you could say, a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of game. I don't think the Steelers are ever known for going, 40 to 35 point wins, putting up big numbers offensively. They're built on play good defense, play physical, run the football, and win ugly. And that's kind of what the game was, in a sense, playing out to. Um, Pittsburgh coming in 3-1, playing relatively well through the first quarter of the season with Justin Fields and Najee Harris, George Pickens. They got some guys. Um, and then obviously the defensive side we know with TJ and Minka and Patrick Queen now. So they have a lot of talent, a lot of dogs, you could say, dog mentality. Um, so I was expecting it to be kind of this ugly win for us. I thought we were going to win. And the way that we were playing, honestly, we were kind of in control of the game. Um, Probably the ugliest, or I should say, one of the ugliest halves of football in terms of a national TV game, primetime game. I don't think anybody watching primetime football wants to see a 6-3 game, no offensive touchdowns, just kind of an ugly, mess of a game. But that's the way it turned out. Dallas wasn't terrible offensively in terms of moving the ball. We were moving the ball, but it started off with Dak Prescott, kind of killing us really. And it turned into this whole narrative of Dak at the end. But through the first 3.5 quarters, Dak Prescott turning the ball over. He had two horrible interceptions, just inexplicable, had a costly fumble in the red zone. So we probably left off at least 13 points because one of them would have been a touchdown. You could say maybe, a field goal. Obviously, you had a blocked field goal too in that game too. So at least 13 points, possibly more. We should have won by, I thought, 3 touchdowns. But it was ugly. Um, Pittsburgh was doing a good job, keeping us out of the end zone really into that fourth quarter. Um, but kind of started early because, we were down Micah Parsons, we're down DeMarcus Lawrence, down Deron Bland, down Kalen Carson, who was our starting corner actually, but he hasn't been playing the past few weeks. And then Brandon Cooks, we get the news a couple of days before game. He goes on the IR now, so we're just devastated with injuries. And in this game, we lose Marshawn Nealon, who's filling in, starting on the edge for Micah Parsons. So he goes down. He's probably going to go on IR. And then Tyler Guyton our young rookie first round pick, he goes down in this game. So I'm like, can we please just catch a break for once? And maybe we did, later in the game. But I think from this game, I'm going to take away is, obviously Dak, we can get into it, but didn't play his best game. But considering that he was without Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, there's just not that connection that just seems to be clicking just yet. I don't know what it is with these two. Just haven't found that groove. But Dak has found a rhythm with some other guys. The secondary playmakers, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, and now Cavante Turpin, who is an explosive guy. The three of those guys probably had their best games of the season, and we needed all three of those guys to make a huge impact in the passing game. I mean, that's going to be huge for us because I'm not worried about CD in the long run. I think he'll be just fine. I think he's maybe kind of adjusting. He was that historic receiver last year, had the record for Cowboys receptions and yards. So now people are really going to start to pay attention to this guy and really just try to take him away. So we need these other guys, Jalen Tolbert, Cavante Turpin. Those guys need to win their one-on-ones and take advantage of it. And they sure did in this game. But then really what was also encouraging was I think Dallas just found their running back one for the season, Rico Dowdle. I mean, we were probably one of the worst running teams in the league. We actually had an identity running the football late in the game too, which was great to see. It wasn't just we try to run the ball the first two times, we don't get anything, we go away from it. At least we had a credible run game to give Dak a little bit of help in that aspect. Rico Dowdle, outside of his last touch of the game, was outstanding. Outstanding. And I think something to note is everything kind of changed. I don't even know if you watched the game because the Dodgers were playing at the same time. But Tyler Guyton got hurt. And that's when the game almost kind of switched for Dallas offensively, was when they inserted TJ Bass to left guard and they kicked Tyler Smith out to left tackle. And for some reason, that five was outstanding. They were clicking. The run game was effective. So I don't know. I'm not saying Tyler Guyton is going to get benched if he plays next week, but something to consider that, hey, maybe Tyler Smith, he can be the left tackle. Tyler Guyton was a natural right tackle at Oklahoma. Is it possible that we put him at right tackle and we let TJ Bass play inside? And who knows what we're going to do with Terrence Steele, but he hasn't been the greatest, I'm going to say. So probably the weak link on the offensive line to begin with. So that's obviously something that Mike McCarthy needs to consider because of how successful we were. So not saying for Tyler Guyton he's going to lose his job, but maybe a position change might be coming in the near future because that lineup was working for us offensively. And if we can run the ball like that, we're going to at least be competitive in each game. And then defensively, not too shabby. Not too shabby. The run game has been better. I thought, okay, maybe the Giants were just the Giants, right? We had like 27 yards allowed. We held the Steelers to under 100 yards with Justin Fields at quarterback, who obviously he can go for 100 rushing yards himself. So to hold that running game in to really no real big plays, that's a win in my book, I think. So I think, overall pretty good outside of the turnovers, I would say. And that brings me back to Dak Prescott. Had probably the worst game of the season by his standards. But at the end of the day, he earned that $60 million paycheck this year because of that last drive. And a lot of people, I watched a little bit of First Take this morning, the ESPN, the shows, the Fox Sports guys. A lot of them are like, oh, Dak, he's so bad. He had a bad game. But he's the guy that gets criticized the most. Like, he can't win, right? He's always going to be at fault. Oh, well, he's supposed to throw for 404 touchdowns, clean game, and have a game winning drive. That's not how NFL games are going to be played every single day. There's different standards, game flow, right? Dak didn't have his best game by his standards by any means, but he channeled a vintage Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, a Joe Montana. Like, that's what made those guys legends. Is not, oh, they put up 500 yards, every single day. It's when they need it the most, those guys are going to deliver for you. No matter how ugly the game is, they're going to come through. And Dak Prescott had that moment, ugly, ugly game, but he had the ball with about 3 minutes to go, down by 4. We need a touchdown. He got the touchdown and basically played it out perfectly because we scored with basically no time left in regulation. So you couldn't even get Pittsburgh into field goal range at the end of the game. They had like 2 plays with no timeout. So literally the perfect script. I'm proud of Dak in this one. To come through like that when we need it most, it doesn't always happen like that. And Dak Prescott has been scrutinized. Oh, he's just like Tony Romo. He can't come through. But this is what's different from Tony Romo. Tony Romo is a guy puts up big, big numbers. This is one of my huge critique of Tony Romo. Puts up big numbers the entire game. And the last drive, it's like he turns into a deer in headlights. Kind of just forgets how good he is. But this is an example of the opposite. It's an ugly game. You're not playing well. But when your team needs you the most, when our backs are against the wall, really for our season, maybe, he came through for us tonight or this morning. I don't even know how to say it because it was a weird, wonky start time with the start time of the whole weather delay. But I'm proud of Dak. I'm proud of Dak. If we can do this at least a few more times, getting those clutch game-winning drives to steal wins from teams, that might be the difference from us getting into the playoffs. Because I think the NFC is just loaded. Everybody's kind of hovering around 3-2, 2-3. Some teams are 4-1, but there really isn't no dominant team, I think, in the NFC. So we're just kind of hanging around. So if we can just kind of stack these wins when we can get them, we'll be in the hunt at the end of the day, I think. So it was ugly. I'll take it. But they have a huge challenge going to home to play Detroit. And we all know what happened last year. I witnessed it in person. The whole Dan Skipper didn't report. Detroit's coming for them. I know that. They want to blow them out by 40. So this is kind of another, week to week thing, but can we kind of step up and save our season again? Because if we can beat Detroit, I think, this train starts to roll a little bit. So it'll be interesting, but we survived. It was ugly, but there's some things to build on in Dallas at least. So all is not lost for my season just yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. At least there's some positives that you can kind of take away from that
I
game.
thought, outside of the Dak turnovers, which was huge, like I thought we were okay. Like the defense was competitive. Yeah, it's Justin Fields, whatever, but the defense held us in the game. We had a run game for once. Other guys outside of CD are able to make plays. Like that's exactly what you want. And then, we always say when you need to win games, your stars got to perform. Dak, CD, Michael when he comes back, DeMarcus Lawrence, Deron Bland, like all those guys are going to have to make plays in that winning time stretch. But if these other guys can continue to get confidence, make an impact and winning plays, we'll be in there at the end when it's all said and done. So this is definitely a building block for this team, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, shout out to Jalen Tolbert, man. That was a heck of a catch too.
Yep.
When they needed it the
Him
most.
and Dak,
So
they have something going right now. I think that's really, they have a better chemistry right now than him and CD. I'll tell you that. But
Yeah.
it's not. I'm proud of CD too because it's not like he got balls early, and then he kind of didn't have much going on the rest of the game, to be honest. But it wasn't like he was going into Dak like, what the hell are you doing? He's kind of just saying, hey, like just throw it up there. Let me go get it. It was more kind of encouraging Dak, like, hey, it's okay. Like he's struggling, but let me help you. Let me help you. Not like when we saw him against was it Baltimore? I forget if it was the Baltimore game, but he's literally just melting down, throwing a tantrum. So just 2 weeks from that, it's like, okay, improvement in his mentality, I think, is gonna go a long way for his team because it's tough. It's tough to be a number one receiver in this league because everybody's gonna go and stop you. So I think CD's head is in the right place, and I have no doubt that tandem is gonna be they're gonna be just fine. Just wait, we'll be good.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. They'll be good. They'll figure it out for the future. And yeah, big win to keep pace, like I said earlier, in the NFC East, Matt. But other than that, if you're kind of good on the Cowboys, why don't I transition over to the
To the game that was
Dolphins?
uglier.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, we went out Saturday, right? We had a game at noon. I'm not waking up to watch the Dolphins, especially for what I've had to endure watching the past two games, right? First, the one in person, and then prime time Monday night against the Titans. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to subject myself to that kind of pain for whatever 2 3 hours. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sleep in and I'm going to check my phone in the morning and we'll see if they won or lost because I'm not going to suffer through it. I'm just not going to do that to myself.
Come on,
So
that's the
wake up.
fandom, man. You have to wake up hungover and just
Nope.
suffer.
Nope. I refuse to do it
But you
for this
signed,
week.
you devoted your fandom to the
And that's
Dolphins last
fine.
week.
That's fine. I am a fan, but like you said, my focus was on the Dodgers. So
I respect that because
anyway,
I got the
yeah. So woke up, saw that we won. I was like, okay, nice. Then I watched the highlights. Yeah, ugly, lucky. Also, I might add, extremely lucky win because, quite frankly, the Patriots should have won that game. Jalen Polk, his heel touched out of bounds by like an inch or two, and really should have been the game-winning touchdown. Got bailed out, um, because his feet were like a little bit too big, essentially. So just in general, I thought defense held their own once again. Okay, is it New England's offense? Yes. Is it anything to write home about? No. But nevertheless, you surrender only 10 points to the other team. Like, we'll take that however we can. But man, ugly on offense, sloppy on special teams. They had uh missed a field goal and they had like a mishandled snap, like a bad snap on another one. Like when we're barely, eking out points, we need all of those points that we can get, right? The field goals become huge and you rely on the defense. So just can't be having special teams miscues, especially on field goal tries and on makeable field goals. It just can't happen moving forward. We need to 100% get that cleaned up. And I don't know. I just thought that like we can't offensively be hurting ourselves with the penalties again. I mean, it's been better, luckily, but I mean, 6 for 54, we don't want to see that. Luckily, New England had literally double the penalties. But, putting ourselves in bad situations on offense with this team right now just can't happen. Um, Odell came back and
didn't
did
catch a
nothing.
ball.
He did not catch a ball. I think Tyler Huntley got picked when he was trying to throw it to Odell on a slant. I mean, it's going to take some time with Odell getting back into the groove of this offense, but I mean, we'll take it. Either way, we'll take it. Really, really lucky that also the Jets and Buffalo lost. So somehow this Miami team is only one game out of first place in the division. Unfortunately, Buffalo has a tiebreaker right now because they have the head to head. But I mean, to be sitting at 2-3 with how this team has looked, quite frankly, is a blessing in itself. Going into the bye week, unfortunately, Tua can't come back because the IR is 4 games. It's not 4 weeks,
Yeah.
so he can't come back, um, which kind of sucks. But I mean, the Colts have also been playing. Their defense has not looked very good. Joe Flacco kind of got that offense humming again, but the defense didn't look good, got shredded by Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, who have looked poor. So I think this is another winnable game. Hopefully, we can get guys rested up. Devon Achan goes down with a concussion, but Raheem Mostert and Jalen Wright finally have honestly the best rushing game we've had this season. So I think each of them went over 80 yards. So, that's good to see. And it was good to see a little bit of Tyler Huntley looking more comfortable in the offense, hitting, some of those window throws like I was talking about last week to Tyreek. And I think he had maybe a few to Jalen, and Jonnu Smith got really involved in the game as well. So good things. I think Tyler Huntley is progressing and he's getting more and more comfortable in the system, which is good to see. And then his ability to extend, make plays with his legs. You got to see that a little bit as well. But I mean, overall, lucky to win this game, bailed out by a heel, literally. And once again, lucky that they're playing these weaker teams at this point in the schedule when Tua is not there, because we can still somehow scrape by with wins against not the top tier teams. So I'm gonna keep it pretty short. Glad to be going into the bye week sitting at 2-3 somehow. If they can somehow win the next one against the Colts, be sitting at 3-3 for Tua to come back. I think that's all you can really ask for at this point. And we haven't really heard too many updates, but hopefully, Tua's doing. Sounds like I know he's symptom free, but hopefully, he takes the necessary precautions to protect himself for the future. I really hope he wears that guardian cap when he comes back. Like, there's no way he shouldn't be, in my opinion, or like have the Tony Pollard neck thing and like anything. I don't know anything.
You should have
I
it
think
all.
he needs to take every single precaution possible because we can't. I mean, first of all, for his long term health, right? We cannot have him like um damaging his brain anymore for his family and his future. And then if you want to talk about football, we can't be having him out at all for the rest of the year. Like he needs to play every single game if these Dolphins want to have a chance because the AFC is a bloodbath right now. And yeah, it just every game is going to count with how these games are going so far. So yeah, lucky win, ugly, but we'll take it. Sometimes you gotta take the
You
ugly
gotta win
ones.
ugly
Gotta
sometimes.
win ugly. And props to this team for sticking it out, sticking through. Another one, killer, I forgot to mention, but Jalen Phillips out for the year with a knee
It's like
injury.
second time
Just
in
second time in the
3 years,
past two
2 years.
years. He which is a huge blow, and we still don't have Bradley Chubb back. So kudos to this defensive line for doing their best. And another guy, Javon Holland, he's gonna be out now for an extended period with I think it's a broken hand. I mean, Poyer is already out, so we're dropping like flies everywhere. Just limping, literally limping into this bye week. So praying for health the rest of the year. And I really think this team still has a shot because just watching these other teams in the AFC, like no one is really pulling away. I think maybe you can say Kansas City, you can say Baltimore has looked really good in the AFC. Houston is one of the top teams, I think, but I mean Buffalo has struggled recently against these upper teams. And then it's all kind of mid from there, like honestly. So there's still a lot of chances to catch ground, make up ground in the AFC. If it's not the division, I still think they have a chance at the wild card if they're at 3-3 when Tua comes back. So it's all contingent on that. This is a big game against the Colts this upcoming week. So hopefully they can get their stuff together for that. Okay. Um, don't need to spend too much time on football, Matt, just because obviously we are in baseball season. But before we get to that, we always got to touch on college football. I don't know if you watched the UH game at all. I That was like the least of my concern. I'm not watching that when the
Yep.
Dodgers game is on.
Yeah, same.
So
The
all I
Yankees
know
were
is they had
playing
a
too.
chance. They had a chance to win.
I saw the
And
ending though.
okay, so why don't you run through that?
Well, yeah. I think the Yankees were playing the same time as the UH, so obviously my priority is gonna go to the Yankees over everything, honestly. But the game finished. I turned it on to UH for a little bit, and I was like, oh, like it's close. There's like a couple minutes left. Let me just watch how this thing ends. I turned on the TV. They had the ball, last drive. I turned it on. It's like, oh, it's 4th and 18. What the heck? 4th and 18. I turn it on. I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to turn it off after this play. And they convert a fourth down and 18 to extend the game. I'm like, what the heck? How did we do that? Just kind of almost a jump ball to, I think it was Ashlock over the middle of the field. So I'm like, okay, we got a shot. We got a shot. And then we get stuffed. A couple plays later, it's 4th and 2. They run it was like a rub, like a pick play. They're trying to get, I think it was Senecal into the flat, but it was just like, it just didn't look crisp. And we get stuffed. Turnover on downs. San Diego runs the clock out. I mean, we get the ball back with like 20 seconds. So really can't do much there. We end up losing yards because I think we got an incompletion. And then the last play of the game, we get sacked. We don't even get a playoff. Like we literally took a sack to end the game. So kind of just a really ugly game. I mean, San Diego State does not look good at all by any means. I kind of thought it was going to be close, but I think the only disappointing thing was the ending, and this is now the second game I think where we legit had a chance to win the game. And we could be sitting at, I mean, 4-1, honestly. Like that UCLA game, definitely winnable for us. And then this one, we had a shot late in the game to take the lead. That's really all you can ask for sometimes in football when you're playing a team that's kind of even at your level, is just to have a chance at the end to go win the game. And we did that. And our offense kind of just came up short. Honestly, that's what it is. But the last play, the CBS broadcasters were like, I really don't like that call from Hawaii. They're just like, it was like ripping into our fourth down play call. Like it was like, I don't know. I think I would throw it past the first down line just to be safe. But hey, Timmy, that's just the nature of the game. I think they were kind of critical of Timmy Chang too with his coaching, because after that stop, Hawaii had 2 timeouts. And then they were saying, I didn't watch this part, but they said Timmy Chang called a timeout early in the fourth quarter to almost reset his defense. But it's like kind of knowing how the game is playing out, was it really worth it? And I don't know. I think San Diego State ended up scoring anyway. Like, so was it really worth the timeout? Because if we kept that timeout, you get another last chance to get into field goal range with about maybe 48 seconds versus 18, just to get a field goal to tie. So just those things. You get 2 chances to get a tying field goal or win it. I don't know. But just the management of the clock, I think, was an issue for Hawaii in this game, and we saw that. So I don't know. I think that comes down to coaching, man. When you can't manage clock, and I know this from Dallas, that's on the coaching staff to get your players to know situations. And if they're going to practice, going up tempo on a third and fourth down play, so be it. But I just think we're not prepared enough in these close games to get over that hump to win. That's what's causing this team to really. That's the difference in the season right now. It's these late game executions. We can't. We're not doing it on the offensive side of the ball, and it's kind of frustrating because we're supposed to be Hawaii, the masters of the run and shoot, and we have a pretty sad looking offense, in my opinion. And did I mention that we play Boise State next week on national TV?
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna
they're
be at that
running.
game too, so
I know
that'll be fun.
Sakai told me, but
Mhm.
you're gonna get to watch the
The
front
Heisman,
runner for the Heisman Trophy. Like
that's the only
that's a
reason I'm gonna
scary
go.
thing. Well, you tell me how it is because I want to know how my running back for the Cowboys does against Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. I don't know what his line is, but it should be like 170, 180. Like, and I only say that low because I'm not anticipating he's gonna play the whole game. So like, I mean, the dude averages like something ridiculous, right? I don't even know what he's averaging per carry, but I know last week it was like 15 for like 180 or something like that.
I think he had
So
13 carries for like 189 yards.
yeah.
Oh, here we go. ESPN, he's averaging 10.9 yards a carry.
Yeah,
That's a first down a
so I
carry.
mean, dude is literally
He has
insane.
a
And
thousand yards.
doing it in college football in the modern day, like I don't know. This is like literally insane. The fact that he's able to run like this over teams. But yeah, I so like maybe 180 is too low because I mean he might gash some. He's gonna gash some big ones for sure. And I mean, if there's one thing we know about Hawaii so far, like a little susceptible to the run, right? But
Yeah,
uh,
let's just
I don't know.
say his lowest rushing game this year was 127 yards
Oh God.
on 11
So
carries.
so I'll just say, right, like look at the past two, I don't want to say legit teams, but Sam Houston State, right? They run for, let's see. So they run for 257 yards, right, against Hawaii. SDSU runs for only 99, which is I guess not
That's pretty good.
terrible. So that's pretty good. But they are not Ashton Ginty. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I legit think if he goes for 200, I won't be surprised. So
You know,
yeah. 10 and a half a carry, like it that doesn't even compute in my mind. Like the fact that he's able to do that through what, like 5 6 games, 5 games, and getting consistent touches, like
five
95
games.
carries for 1,000 yards. I
1,000 yards in 5 games is
That doesn't
insane.
even compute in my mind.
Insane.
Like, and to do it on 95 carry over 10 and a half, this is ridiculous. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see that in person. I'm assuming it's going to be a blowout. Spread is only 21. I think it should be a
Ooh,
little
that
bit
should
higher
be
than that.
higher.
So we'll see if it moves as the week goes on. I'm sure it will. Um, I don't know. Like that's ridiculous. 21 is a little bit ridiculous to me. It should probably be like 20, 28. But yeah. Okay. Well, just pray. Just pray they don't become,
They got to put
honestly,
like
let's
nine in
pray.
the box.
We should pray we don't become like an all-time NCAA record. I'm not even joking. Like Hawaii should pray that Ashton Jeanty doesn't go off for the most rush yards in a game in NCAA history. It's possible. I'm just gonna say that.
Why don't you predict his stat line?
Well, okay, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a blowout. So let's go 18 for 210. Yep. 18 for 210. Let's give him three touchdowns. Two or three. I think three. I'm gonna
210.
gonna say video game numbers. So 18 for 210, three tuds. I think it's definitely possible.
I think he's gonna get like 225.
225.
I think he's gonna get 225 on like 20 carries. He's gonna have like a 55-yard touchdown run.
Yeah,
He's
he's
gonna
gonna
have
break
he's
one.
gonna have one big breaker, like 55, 60-yard touchdown run. And it's like he's gonna make like four guys miss in the process. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, teams know what Boise State's gonna do,
Yeah, they're not
and
passing the ball well.
he's
Like
still just doesn't matter. I'm just gonna bounce off tackles, and I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous
he
watching him
bounces
run.
off and then he has the breakaway speed to run
Yeah,
away
it's
from you. So
it's
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 like
like the combination of the balance, speed, acceleration. Like, I mean, I get it. We're at the college level still, but it is impressive for sure.
it's impressive because they don't pass the ball well. So I mean, I think everybody knows, okay, we gotta stop number two. And nobody has figured it out yet to this point. So would it be funny if Hawaii is the first team to get
Right.
the Ashton
Yeah.
Genty
I'm not. I'm not putting my money
Ashton Genty
on them
stopper.
stopping Ashton Genty. So, um, yeah, we'll have to wait and see for Saturday. Okay. So next one, Oregon, Michigan State. Matt, comments.
It wasn't an impressive win by any means. Michigan State is not a good football team. Aiden Childs at quarterback, former Oregon State starting quarterback, really struggles with the pass. I mean, we've seen it at Oregon State. I don't think Oregon was surprised at all. The defense was kind of just stacking the box. Michigan State's receivers are dropping passes when they have a chance to make big plays. So really just wasn't a good test, I think. They just kind of coasted through. And even Dylan, I think Dylan kind of disappointed me too, because it's like Dak Prescott. I talked about it. Bad turnovers in the red zone. It's exactly what Dylan did. He gave Michigan State false hope early in the game. You have two picks in the red zone, and it's like bad picks. One of them, first and goal on the one, you throw a pick. The other one, your team is driving a long drive, trying to cap it off, and then you throw a bad pick. So those things, yeah, you're in college football. You can get away with that if you're a better team on paper. But everybody knows next week is the marquee week of college football that is headlined by Oregon because Ohio State comes to Autzen. Number two versus number three, probably a matchup of who the best team in the Big Ten will be at this point of the season. Maybe a conference championship rematch for all we know. But that's the kind of test we want to see. And if Dylan's going to be doing that, having sloppy turnovers, Ohio State has a lot of weapons, a lot of NFL weapons, and they're going to make us pay if we give them multiple opportunities. So Oregon needs to clean that up, play a clean game, and don't pretend like we're playing Michigan State because Ohio State, as we know, for anybody in college football, is on the they're on the tiers of the Alabamas. They're a top notch program. So we need to play our A game to have a chance and hopefully come up with a win. But yeah, it wasn't a pretty game. I feel like there was a little bit of looking ahead to Ohio State with Oregon. So that'll be our test. That's really our first true test to
Oh yeah,
see where we stand.
that'll be a good game for sure.
Yeah.
Look forward to that one. But yeah, Matt. chaos this past weekend. Five of the top 11 teams go down, including Alabama. Like,
To all
what?
teams.
Ridiculous. Losing
Well,
to Vandy and the former, I was wondering why that quarterback's name looked familiar. He's a New
Diego
Mexico
Paiva.
State quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. And then Tennessee loses too. And then, like, just, I don't even know what
USC,
USC.
Michigan.
I mean, but to me, like, the Alabama one was crazy. I just couldn't believe that they lost. But, um, yeah,
I think that just
just,
shows college football now. I mean, there really is no dominant
and,
team.
and then really Miami should have lost too, probably like
I was watching that game. That was crazy.
the Cal one, right?
Bad. That was
Like
bad.
they probably should have lost that game. And even going back, I don't know if you caught the that Virginia Tech game too. They probably should have they could have lost that one too on like the Hail Mary that
Yep.
he was out of bounds. One of the players was out of bounds when he touched it. Like that's two games in a row. They are like scraping by. I mean, I'm a Cam Ward fan. I think I really like his game, but I mean, Miami is lucky to not have two losses right
He needs to
now
work on
to
his
unranked teams.
post game interviews. I mean,
Okay, I didn't watch the post game interviews, but
well, he dropped the N word on Sports Center, so
okay. Well, we can work on the PR later.
yeah.
I was just talking about his game. I didn't know about the post game interviews, but yeah, it's getting kind of it's kind of crazy how they're still undefeated. I just gotta say. So
Hey, that's like the teams like that just skate by. It's like your luck can only last so long. It's eventually it's gonna catch up to you in these close games, but
mhm.
you got to give them credit. I mean, I thought they were gonna lose. They were down by 25 points, and they come back to win it in the second half.
Somehow,
So that's
yeah.
you got to give them credit for that. But yeah, you can't just keep getting by like this every single week. Eventually, your luck is gonna run out.
Okay. Um, yeah, would get more into college football, but
It's
it is the postseason.
playoffs, man.
So we gotta just jump right back into baseball, Matt. Um, so as of now, both of our teams are in close competitive series, 1-1 in each of those. And just looking across the league as well, the other side, that NLDS is gonna be a bloodbath too, I think. And even Detroit and Cleveland are sitting
The
there at
battle,
1-1.
the
So
pitching,
it is a duel in every single divisional series thus far. Um, I think for both of our sakes, we want 5 game series for Tigers, Guardians, and Mets, Phillies. But I mean, overall, it's just chaos this postseason. And honestly, some of the most entertaining playoff baseball in the divisional round, I think, that we've seen in the past couple years, just because these teams are so even. And I mean, 3 out of the 4, divisional series are divisional rivals as well, right? So it just makes for even more fun baseball at this point. But I'll let you take the floor first, Matt. Since your game 2 just concluded today, several hours ago, Kansas City able to even the series at 1. Yankees bats kind of went quiet today, so why don't you give me the rundown, games 1 and 2 of that series?
oh, well, it started off pretty good. Game one, a rested Yankees team, Garrett Cole on the mound. I'm thinking, okay, probably our good chance to win. It didn't start so pretty, I think. Garrett Cole, I was expecting a vintage Garrett Cole performance, but he was not on his A game by any means. I think the Royals had a lot of hard contact. Definitely could have had a couple balls, with some good plays defensively, that could have tacked on a couple more runs. So I think part of it is due to the layoff. You win the division, right? You get that first round bye. Um, you're not gonna play for a week, and then depending when your last start is in the regular season, you're looking at maybe a week and a half from pitching. 10 or so days. So I think that played a little bit of a factor. But another story lineup. I said last week, a pretty bold statement by me. I want everybody in their primary position. Trent Grisham, put him in center. Soto can play left, but just help on his side. Help on his side, shade Grisham. And Aaron Judge, we know, is one of the best defenders in right field, who's in center now. But we could have did that. I know Aaron Boone was going to do that because why would they make that change in the postseason? But it was just a thought I thought would be smart to consider. They end up going with Alex Verdugo in left field over Jason Dominguez, which I think was the right decision if we're just comparing those two, because I like experience on the field. And Verdugo, it was his game. The reason why we won this game, his defense came into play, making tough catches, playing balls off the wall, keeping guys to singles, which in the playoffs, those little things matter so much because rallies are considered a runner on base in the playoffs. It's not the regular season. Yeah, you walk somebody, well, whatever, no big deal. Two guys are on base, first and second, two outs. It's okay. But you get a guy on base in the playoffs, there's just that extra feeling, like mental. It's like, okay, we're cooking now because the pitching is just that much better. It's so hard to get any kind of rally going. So anytime you get pressure on the defense with a base runner, that's how you win series, and honestly. And that's how we won game one. The Royals could not find the strike zone. We were walking in runs. So we got kind of gifted, honestly, with that. And then Verdugo obviously had the big hit at the end, scoring Jazz Chisholm, who in a controversial call was called safe, looked out. I'm gonna say he was safe, honestly. The umpire said it was safe. I couldn't even tell, honestly. So if the umpire is saying safe, you can't overturn it unless you can clearly distinguish he was out. I don't think you could have based on the camera's angles that they were showing on the broadcast. So, hey, it is what it is. I don't think it made that much of a difference in the game for game one, I think, because the Yankees left a lot of meat on the bone. Probably the worst team at hitting in runners in scoring position. I would challenge the Dodgers, I don't care what team in the playoffs. There is no team worse than the Yankees because they always have guys to make a big inning, and it's like we just get one or we get nothing. Like first inning, Glaber, walk, Soto, double. Second and third, nobody out. In the playoffs, you have to score. We got nothing. We got nothing. So those kind of things, Volpe had a bad error, just a bad, really some junk things that I saw outside of Verdugo, honestly. So Luke Weaver, obviously coming in, our closer, shuts the door, doing his thing. So it was like we kind of skated by. We got lucky in game one, and then game two, the luck ran out for us. Carlos Rodon, really one bad inning, just couldn't get out of it. Gave up 4 runs in the fourth, and that's all the Royals needed because we can't hit for beans. And it's always coming back to runners in scoring position. We didn't have many chances, but we had a couple chances. And in the first inning, we had a chance too. First and second, nobody out. You got to score in that situation. Put the pressure on the Royals, make them feel like they're down. You got 3, 4, 5 coming up. Strikeout, ground out from Stanton. And I'm going to get to Stanton in a little bit because he's been driving me absolutely insane. Um, but I think, in this game, first base, we changed it up. Oswaldo goes game one. Birdie gets to start in game two. And I talked about experience. Kind of odd that a team would throw out a guy that's never played first base to start a playoff game. Just kind of a random thing. But I thought John Birdie, honestly, was pretty good. He made all the plays, made a great defensive play, got a double play to save the game, in a sense, to keep us within striking distance. His at bats weren't terrible. I thought he had good at bats. He even got a hit late in the game off of Ursig, the closer. So that's good to see. But I think going forward in 3 and 4, maybe 5, it's going to be some kind of platoon. And I think Birdie's going to get the starts if it's a left-handed pitcher for the Royals. In this case, it's really just Cole Riggins. So I think we're going to see either Oswaldo or Ben Rice going forward. But really the things that's really frustrating me is this lineup. And going to game 3, we need to see something different, and it's not working. And the one thing I think needs to change is Giancarlo Stanton. He drives me insane just because I always bitch and complain about his contract. He clogs the lineup with flexibility. You can't maintain Judge, you can't maintain Soto, these guys that are playing every day, just to get them off their feet and play a little bit of DH once in a while. You can't do that because you got a guy making like $400 million that just swings for the fence the entire time. And when he makes contact, it's like, if it's not a home run, he's a liability. And I was telling Wade this, Stanton, everybody in the postseason, I think if you get a walk, that's just as good as a hit because you put pressure on the defense. If Stanton gets a walk, that's probably the one guy I say, don't walk. Because if he's on first, he's going to slow everybody else behind us down. You're going to have to go station to station. And that was on full display in game 1. There was 2 times we could have had 2 extra runs if Stanton simply could just run like a normal professional athlete. Like, he looks like a senior citizen running out there, which is a shame. Like, it's embarrassing to watch him run. Like, there's a ball in the gap by Oswaldo, and he barely gets to third base. It's like, what is going on? Like, embarrassing. Like, that, anybody else, that's a run. RBI double for Cabrera. And then another ball that's hit, he grounds into a double play, or not a double play, but like Garcia, he makes like a full on diving extension, has to kind of like get up, turn around, makes kind of a weak throw to first. Stanton was out by a mile. Like, you're diving, you have to gather the ball, get up, turn, throw. The throw is not even a good throw, and somehow you're out by a mile. Like, that's just, and there's runner on third. So I just think I cannot deal with this already. Like, it's just, if he's not hot and hitting home runs, I don't want him in the lineup. He can be a guy I can pinch hit for late in the game. If we're down 1, down 2, we need a home run, yeah, I'll take my chances. But I'm sorry, with the Royals starting pitchers coming up, it's going to be Lugo in game 3, Waka in game 4, 2 righties. Give me Jason Dominguez at DH. And then if they want to throw in a lefty, and you take Dominguez out, fine. Then you put in Stanton. But at least give me something new. Like, I can't have a guy clog the lineup up in so many ways, not just with his speed, his limitations around the field. Like, it's killing us right now. Like, Stanton's a great dude. I'm sure he's a great guy in the locker room, but he has to at least understand, and Boone has to have the balls to actually make this move. And you got to have this conversation with him because he's not helping the team right now. I'm just saying that. So I think that's what we need to change. And then, going forward, obviously, a guy that's getting a lot of heat is Aaron Judge. The 2 real cogs of why we're not up 2-0 in this series is our middle of the lineup. Judge, Wells, and Stanton. Now, Wells has had his moments. He had a good game in game one, but Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton have been bad, like bad. And it's like, this is what makes Derek Jeters the Yankee legends. That's what makes them great. It's like they have these moments in the postseason that you're like, I remember watching that on TV, or I remember where I was when I saw him do this. Aaron Judge, I don't have a moment like that for him where it's like, yeah, I had that moment where we were down one and Aaron Judge had a 2-run double or something like that in a big spot. It's not happening. And I don't know what it is, if it's mental. I really hope it's not. But if we're going to win this series, they're going to have to make plays in the middle of the lineup, whether it's Judge, Wells, Dominguez, even Jazz. Jazz Chisholm, yes, he hit a home run today. Outside of that, has not been the greatest yet, I think. He had some key plays, but he's had a multitude of opportunities to cash in with runners in scoring position. And I'm talking sack fly, productive out somewhere, not coming through. So I need to see more of that going forward. But I'm not gonna panic just yet, because we're lucky in the sense where the schedule makers gave us that bye. So Garrett Cole is slotted now for game 4. He is going to pitch game 4, win or lose. And anytime that guy is on the mound, I like my chances. I like my chances to win. And especially now that he has one game under his belt, he doesn't have that layoff to, deal with. He's in rhythm. He's going to pitch on his normal day's rest. I think he's going to be just fine. And for him to kind of adjust from what he did in game 1, I feel confident, we can win at least that start for him, which would be an elimination game if we lose anyway. So he better be on the mound. But the big one is going to be game 3, man. If we can win that one and then you get a chance to close it out with Garrett Cole instead of face elimination, that's a huge thing. But Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil probably going to be a piggyback because they announced Schmidt starting. Kind of surprised. I thought they would go with Gil, but I think we're going to see some kind of tandem there. But we're going to need big pitching outputs from them, because really, I guess any team in the playoffs, right? You can pitch, maybe except the Dodgers, but I don't know. I think you can pitch in the playoffs. So we're going to have stellar outings from those guys. And the bats just got to wake up. And I think Boone just has to make that one tweak. And I think this offense can unlock a little more athleticism, taking the extra base, stealing bases with speed. So I think that's going to be the huge difference, honestly, because the playoffs, it's those little things that matter. It's not, I'm just trying to mash a home run every time. It's situational hitting, doing fundamentals. That's the things that wins games. And the Yankees are pretty bad at that, honestly. So it's 1-1. Everybody is locked up. So I'm not going to freak out. But, obviously we got to win one of the two at least to get it back to Yankee Stadium for game 5. So it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind, but we got a shot. We still got a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I like your chances, Matt. I know Kansas City has some vets over there. They got Salvi, right? Bobby Witt
The
looks
vets are
really
killing
good, but
us.
I don't know. I still think I like this Yankees roster. I just think, you guys have the talent and you have the experience, and hopefully, Garrett Cole delivers a prime Garrett Cole performance for you guys in that game 4.
I
So
think that's the huge thing too,
I definitely
is
think,
we
yeah,
can't hit Cole Riggins, who's their ace. We can't hit lefties, but he's in line for game 5 if it goes that far. So I'm hoping that they can beat Seth Lugo. And I know they faced Seth Lugo earlier this season, and that was when he was doing, Cy Young things, and we kind of knocked him around. So it's not like we haven't seen him before. And then Waka, right? We saw him in game 1. I'm sure we can make adjustments, and it works both ways, obviously. But I'd take my chances with Waka versus Cole Riggins. So I'm hoping the righties give us a little bit of chance to go and break out the bats a little bit.
Okay.
But it's huge. This is going to be huge, man. Game three is always huge when it's tied.
Yeah, you're telling me. You don't need to tell me about how big game three is. So, uh, let me just transition over to my Dodgers real quick. Um, so obviously game one, huge game, and just like what everyone's been saying, what I kind of expected, for us to be able to win, we're gonna have to out hit our pitching. And Yoshi Yamamoto gets the late start game one. We switch from Flaherty over to Yamamoto, and right out the gate, we're running into trouble already, right? It's 1-0, just like that, and then Manny Machado goes yard, makes it a 3-0 game, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, here we go
Flashback of
again.
Kershaw.
Here we go again. You want to talk about Kershaw or just the past 2 years of facing Arizona and then the Padres and just, well, I mean, choking in the playoffs again, right? So I'm just thinking, oh, here we go. Lo and behold, our savior, Shohei Ohtani, shows up, hits a 3-run missile off of Dylan Cease, fires up the home crowd, fires up the dugout, and pumps some life back into I think the fan base, honestly, and gave that dugout some hope because the past 2 years that's been the narrative, right? We have this awesome regular season, get to the playoffs, can't get it done. And for him to hit that home run, yeah, it was only to tie the game. And yes, it was early, but it felt like, oh my gosh, wait, we can fight back. Like, we're not just going to roll over. We're not just going to, cave and give in. And I really think that was huge because even when, the Padres come back to take the lead again, makes it 5-3, right? It's still like, hey, but at least now we have hope that we can hit. And kind of saw that carry over throughout the rest of the game. Hey, Oscar, with the big hit to put us back in front. Probably a catchable ball, but I mean, that's a tough play as a center fielder when the ball's kind of hit more or less straight up at you and it's sinking fast, like bases loaded. You don't want to dive and miss, right? So you kind of want to keep it in front of you, but you're also trying to catch the ball at the same time. It's a tough play. Luckily, Teoscar just got enough topspin on that for it to fall out of Jackson Merrill's reach. But I mean, huge game one. Bullpen, man, stepped up huge in that game one. Um, didn't allow a run after, Yamamoto struggled to get through three, but had to tip my cap. Blake Trinan gets out of the big eighth inning jam there, fired us up and was able to also, they close it out in the ninth as well. So, I mean, huge first win. I think that took a lot of pressure off of the Dodgers, at least going into that game two, which would have felt like a must win. Um, but happy with the game one performance. Game two, I mean, what a ugly game. Just so many different aspects. I'll talk about the game, the baseball played itself first. I just thought that, I don't want to say came out flat, but not a lot of I should say I'll give credit to the Padres because they made plays on balls that were hit hard. Right? I mean, going just in that first inning after Tati's homers, Mookie finally has a chance to break out of his slump. What's gonna be a home run, and gotta tip your cap to Jurickson Profar, makes a heck of a catch, robs Mookie of the
Change
home
the
run,
game.
changed the game. Honestly, it did. Would have been a tie game after that, but you know they get out of that inning scot free, and then Peralta, same thing, another home run in the second inning to make it 3-0. Um, and I thought, okay, well, now here we go, second inning. Now's our chance to strike back again, right? We get bases loaded, no outs, and all we can muster up is one run off of that. It just felt like that was a big missed opportunity. And honestly, they kind of hit you Darvish fairly hard, like a good amount of times. Even that inning double play, it was a missile off the bat of Edmund, just right to Arise there at first base for the easy double play. I think each of the outfielders made a pretty decent play, right? Profar had one, Tatis
Tatis had a nice catch.
robbed Freddie of extra bases, and Jackson Merrill made a catch at the wall. I think that was to rob Muncy of probably extra bases there too. So, I mean, they were hitting the ball hard, but San Diego was positioned well. They have what I like to call PDP, prime defensive positioning, Matt. Talk about that in OBL a lot, but they were positioned well. They made plays, and even the infield, helping out Yu Darvish and that stuff. But Yu Darvish goes with 7 innings of one earned baseball. Like that makes it a lot easier on that pen. Gave them, a lot more rest, which is I think is going to be critical going to this next game 3, Matt. Because you kind of saw that once the game was kind of out of reach, Dave Roberts is putting in other guys to just kind of, get the game over with. And I mean, I like it, but at the same time, it's tough because I hate letting teams get kind of hot towards end of games that are already out of reach,
The
right?
Yankees,
Like
they did that today.
exactly. And so even like I know luckily Max Muncy hits a home run in the bottom of the ninth. I thought, okay, maybe we have
That's
a
something.
chance.
I think that's something.
And I always think it is. I really do, especially for a guy like Max who hasn't had a breakout game yet, but he's hit some big home runs for us, had some big playoff moments in the past. Hopefully that gets him going. But like I said too, Matt, I mean Tatis is just on another level right now with the bat. Like we need to avoid him. It just seems like that lineup, is hitting the ball really well. I mean, Merrill, Bogarts, Higashioka, and Tatis all homer, past the 8th inning. Like, I don't like that. I don't like when teams get good ABs in at the end of games, even if the game is over, win or lose, right? So hopefully on the Dodgers end it carries on and it stops for the Padres, but kind of scared going into San Diego for this game 3 tomorrow. But would be remiss if I didn't talk about the fan behavior of the Dodgers fan base. So going back to the first inning, right? When Jackson Merrill robs Mookie of the home run. I mean, how pathetic is it to see fans ducking out of the way of a potential home run? Like, guys, I don't know if you know the rules, but as long as you don't reach over the fence, guess what? We can go like interfere and go catch that ball because it's fair play when it's over the wall, foul territory, or if it's going to be a home run. So, hey, game 1 or game 2, and this is a game tying home run. Let's maybe like do something so that we mess with Profar, so he doesn't catch that ball. Like he had to go into a crowd of hands, and you're telling me no one can just knock the ball away or get a hand on it before it gets in his glove? Because it's fair game, right, Matt? Like
Yeah.
in a playoff game, and you're sitting there. I'm sorry, but guess what? You as a fan have a responsibility in that situation. Like if that's Teoscar trying to make a play, I hope we're backing away and letting him, have the chance to make the catch. But when we're hitting, hello, can we have some wherewithal to be able to recognize the situation and go, oh, sorry, Jerkson. Oh, sorry. Oh, whoops. Sorry. I was just trying to catch the home run ball by Mookie Betts. So I'm just frustrating out of the gate. And then all the other antics, they start throwing stuff on the field at Profar, at Tatis. Like, guys, I don't care how much they pissed you off. I don't care how much they annoyed you. We can't be having that. Like, from a safety standpoint, first of all, to the players, no fan should be interfering in any professional sports game. Doesn't matter if it's baseball, basketball, football, right? Like, can't be having it. for player safety, that's just number one no as a fan. But second of all, you want to talk about how this impacts the game or the series. You don't think that fired up this team, this Padres team, and you don't think it's going to fire up the Padres fans for when the series goes down to Petco Park? Like that place is going to be rock. It was already going to be rocking as it is, but now, I mean, first of all, the Padres weren't even selling tickets at a certain point if you had an LA area code. So it's going to be like San Diego bias. I didn't even know that was legal, by the way, Matt. Did you know that they could not sell
I
tickets
didn't know that.
to put, so that's a whole nother thing.
Hey,
But
credit to them. If that, why not?
I mean, if it is legal and you can do that, but it's going to be crazy. It's going to be loud. And I mean, to have such a pivotal game three, um, and the crowd is already feeling some type of way. I'm feeling there's gonna be, I don't want to say a brawl, but I think in this, like when tensions are at its highest in this game three, and you got a guy in Walker Bueller who is a flamethrower, but also like he hasn't been the same, Walker Bueller talent wise, but he's still Walker Bueller. He's still like a bulldog, and he's not afraid to go at you. So I don't know. Tension's already high. Like apparently Machado's throwing balls at the Dodgers dugout. That's what riled him up. I don't know if you saw that footage,
Yeah,
Matt.
Dave Roberts said that he was throwing at him, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what was going on there, but that's just another thing that we need to look out for now. And oh, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a gritty 9 innings, high tension, stare downs, shit talking. Probably at some point, some kind of altercation. I don't know what. Hopefully, it's not a fight and no one gets hurt. But I think maybe a bit dugout clearing, like verbal exchange between the two teams. I don't know, but you can feel the tension going all the way into the fan bases now. It's building to you know, it literally feels like it's a volcano just ready to explode at any moment. So yeah, hopefully the Padres fans are better than these whoever these choice Dodgers fans were. Obviously, it's not all of them, right? But it only takes a few. So still pretty embarrassing, but hopefully that doesn't happen if if it does go to five and back to LA, right? I mean, hopefully we win it in two. But this is gonna be, I think, our toughest pitching matchup, like mismatch, just because we don't know what we're gonna get with Walker Bueller. He was better down the stretch in the regular season, but am I 100% confident he's back to his old self? No. Versus Michael King, on the other hand, who you know plenty of, had a great year for the Padres, and in his last playoff start looked unbelievable. So I'm very, very worried for the game tomorrow. Hopefully, the old Walker shows up and surprises me and shows me something. But once again, the bats need to come alive, and that's just going to be how it is. They need to handle that crowd early. Um, and you know, the good thing is Walker, he's a guy who's been there, done that in the highest leverage moments for this Dodgers team. So I'm just hoping that, you know, we're able to sneak one out, even if it's ugly. Don't care at this point. Just if we can somehow sneak out a win in San Diego, I think I'll be feeling really good about our chances the rest
I
of the
hope
series.
you guys win one out of the two in San Diego so I can watch a
That
game and
too.
not waste my time up there. Like I just
Yeah,
want to
that too.
see one. Do they get it to game five? I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess for both of our sakes, Matt. But yeah, I am nervous. Um, but they're gonna have to show up and hit. And come on, Mookie. Oh, for your last, is it 23? I don't even know. I don't even want to know. It's 20 something. It's either 22 or 23 or something like that. And yes, you got one robbed. Okay, so I'll give you that. But we need prime Mookie to just have a game. Like I think that's going to take the pressure off everyone else, to have Mookie back. Just being a consistent piece in this offense during the postseason, because when he's on, it's like it just breathes life into our team, honestly. So they're probably going to roll out the same roster that they have been with the righties.
What about Freddie though?
Yeah,
Isn't Freddie hurt?
Freddie, we're gonna have to see. I think they pulled him because he was feeling some discomfort, but heck, I'll take Freddie at 50% at this point, honestly. Just let him get some at bats in. But I don't hate playoff TK either. So if it comes to that, he's just one of those guys that shows up in the biggest moments. I wouldn't hate it if Freddie like can't walk, you know. So we'll see. We'll see. But extremely nervous about tomorrow, I gotta say.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, but why don't we still have some time, Matt? Why don't we touch on some of the other series? Talk about one which has arguably been the most exciting thus far, Mets Phillies. Two insane games off the jump with that one. But yeah, Matt, I mean, I think I called. We didn't get to make predictions for the divisional series. Um, I think I'm still leaning Phillies after two games. The fact that they were able to weather the storm and come back in that one was pretty impressive to me. And I still got the Guardians. I know the Tigers are having a good run, but I just think the Guardians have too much pitching and a little bit too much talent. Even though the Tigers are hot, the Tigers are hot. But yeah, going back to the Phillies Mets one, Matt. Whew, like what a series it's been so far. The late inning hitting for both teams, honestly. But I mean, even the Mets,
The
for them to be
Mets.
down and out, going back to the Brewers series, right? The wild card series, Pete Alonso, home run of his life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
of all guys, Pete Alonso, it's like he's been the guy that, yeah, he puts up these home run numbers, but he's never been like that guy, right? To have the clutch hit. I mean, it's been Lindor who had the another clutch hit for them in that series too, by the way. But for I just think for Alonso to hit a home run in that moment against Devin Williams of all guys, who I guess looking back hasn't had a great playoff success, but still one of the best closers in the game with that changeup too that he throws, which is one of the pitches in baseball that I don't understand the movement on it. But regardless, like for Alonso to hit a home run in that moment to put them back up, just ridiculous. So the Mets are also hot, and more of the same. Zach Wheeler. I mean, he deals his heart out in that game one, 7 innings, no earned, and the Phillies bullpen is deep and it's good. But so for the Mets to hit get 5 innings in the eighth, just like that, when the Phillies have been dominating them the entire game, it's like, oh my gosh, these Mets will not go away. Um, and so that game one felt pretty good for the Mets. It's like, oh, if you're Philly, oh, are they gonna wake up? What's it gonna be? And they started Kodai Senga, who gets through two, only allowing that leadoff Schwarber bomb. So it's like, oh, you're feeling pretty good as a Mets fan. And then going into game two, it's like, okay, we have the lead. Now Philly's not hitting, and then the dam breaks open. Harper, Castellanos, but the Mets don't quit. Like this is gonna be. I think this one's gonna be just a
5.
slugfest,
It's gone
and
5.
it's going five. And I think it's gonna be a close game every game because I mean, these two teams also don't like each other, right? But I mean, just the playoff intensity of it being the Mets and the Phillies, two, huge fan bases as well. Oh, like I'm glad I'm watching and not a fan of either of those two teams because that would stress me out just as much as this Dodgers Padres one. So I don't know. I still like the Phillies. I just think that they got a little bit more, and it it just feels like it's their time to make a run again. So I don't know. I don't know, Matt. I just know that I'm excited to watch this one because it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think interesting for the Phillies though. I think Boehm got benched in game 2. So I don't know how it's gonna play out. I mean, for a guy, I think he was hurt, so he's been struggling since coming back from his injury, but to have the balls in essence to bench an all-star third baseman this year in the playoffs is that's a bold move by Rob Thompson and his team. But hopefully Aaron Boone, take notes. You can do that too, just saying at the DH spot. But the Mets, I think they're the kind of the talking story of this playoff run so far. And I think playoff baseball, there's always like guys where it's like they're coming out party. And I always think, go back to the Dodger year, it was a Rosarena for the Rays, right? We're like, who is this guy? And then he's just hitting home runs against everybody he plays. And the Yankees, I was a victim of that. The birth of a Rosarena. I think last year it was Evan Carter for the Rangers, right? This year, is it like the birth of Mark Vientos? Like nobody knows who this guy is, but it just seems like every game that they're in, he's the guy with the bat in his hands, game on the line, and he's coming through. Like it's crazy. So I think for him, just kind of emerging as a playoff superstar, honestly, between or batting after Lindor, and sandwich between Nimmo, I think that's really the reason why they're having so much success. Is this guy out of nowhere is turning into a superstar before our own eyes. So I think that's one thing about playoff baseball. It's like we hear of these guys and they just make a name for themselves when the moment is the biggest. And Mark Vientos has definitely earned that. But I mean, I'm with you. I think the Phillies will squeak it out by a fraction, only because pitching. I think the starting pitching for the Mets is very limited. And I think the Phillies, maybe the Padres, but the Phillies, I think their starting rotation easily, they're throwing out 4 all-star starters this year. Obviously, Wheeler, they threw out Sanchez in game 2, made the all-star team. Aaron Nola's going game 3, obviously former all-star. Ranger Suarez in game 4 had a terrific year this year. So they got arms. So it's kind of like the Yankees where it's like they have Zach Wheeler. You just get him the ball again. And for them, it's going to be game 5, I think, with the rest days. But if you get it to Zach Wheeler, I think you got to like your chances. So I think they can squeak 1 out of 2 in New York.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, regardless. I
Do
think.
you have a preference who wins that one? If the
Nope.
Dodgers
I
advance?
don't. I think they're both gonna be tough either way. So
Okay.
yeah, I think the Dodgers, like unbiasedly, we're gonna have a tough road no
Regardless.
matter who we play.
Well, that's every
Just
team, I think.
but just with the lack of starting pitching performances we've had thus far, like it's gonna be rough. I was holding out hope, Flaherty, and he looked okay, but um like not that dominant stuff you want to see out of one of your top 2 guys in the postseason. So I'm holding out hope, but on the other side, Matt, I mean, Tarek Skubal is an
Oh my
animal.
gosh.
Like, oh my gosh, I know I hyped him up at the beginning of the year, but this dude, what is he through? Like 13 or 14 innings thus far? Um,
Shut
I
up.
think 14 innings shutout, like something ridiculous. I don't know. He's been on an absolute tear right now. And, he dominated Houston and he's dominated the Guardians so far. Um, but the gritty Tigers, man. I mean, shout out to Skubal and their pen, but even bigger, I mean, for someone to hit a pinch hit home run off, well, I guess he was already in the game, but to hit a home run off the best closer in baseball the past, what, 5 years, I guess. In that moment to bust it, to take a 3-run lead in the ninth. Not on my bingo card for Clase to be giving up home runs. So the fact that they got to him in this moment of all times, like it's just a little bit scary, I think, if you're the Guardians, because
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't hit even though you exploded in that game 1. It
Well, I think the
just
Guardians messed themselves up too for that one because like they had game one, they don't play because they have the bye for like what a week. Clase doesn't pitch for like 10 days. They pitch him very questionable. They pitch him in like a seven. They're up seven
yeah,
zero,
it's a
right?
7-0 game.
Like, does he really like I get he needs the work, but do you really need to pitch him there? Like, I'm thinking worst case scenario. What if he gets hurt or something on a comebacker? Like just you don't want that to happen. But I just think in the playoffs, when you see a pitcher multiple times, you get more comfortable with them. And I think that had to do something with it because I was watching the end of it. The Tigers were putting some pretty good swings on Clase. Even the outs were like, ooh, like they're not intimidated by him at all. So I think that game one, just to see what he has, yeah, you're down 7-0, you're not going to win the game, but like I just think the carryover effect to a next game in the playoffs is huge. And I think the Yankees maybe did the same thing today. They're down 3. Why is Luke Weaver pitching to Bobby Miller? Yeah, he threw 4 pitches, but if we're going to go places, I think Luke Weaver is going to have to get out Bobby Miller 2, 3 times more in this series at least. So I don't want him to get that advantage. And then the same thing goes for Kansas City. They throw Ursig in game one. They're losing, throws like 28 pitches. He comes back today. He gets the save, but the swings were pretty good for the Yankees. I mean, Jazz got a home run. Volpe hard hit out. Verdugo, well, he grounded out, but good at bat for the most part. Birdie hit. So I just think there's a carryover effect to that. So I think the Guardians, I don't think they should have pitched Clase, especially in a blowout too. If it's a save situation, 3-4 run lead, okay, I understand, but not in a 7-0 lead. Like I think that's totally unnecessary. And quite honestly, why they lost game two.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth. I guess if I had to err on one side, it'd be on the side of caution just in the playoffs in a 7-0 game, but yeah, I think I'm with you. I'd probably lean towards giving him some rest.
Yeah, you want to save you when you can save bullets, take your chance. Because if I'm sure every team thinks they're going to win the World Series, you're going to need your bullpen to go through 3 more series, and it's going to be longer going into the CS and the World Series because it's best out of 7. So they're going to be exhausted. So anytime you get them to not throw, that's huge, I think.
Yeah. Yep. I'm right there with you, Matt.
I think this one's
Well,
going 5. Honestly,
I think so too. I think almost all of
I
them
think all of
might
them
go
are going to go
5.
5.
Yeah. I think the Yankees one, I would feel the most confident about them being able to win in Kansas City, but I mean, they're all good matchups thus far. It's
Yeah.
just gonna be fun baseball the rest
I
of the
wanted
way.
to go 5 because I know if it goes 5, Scuba is going to pitch Game 5 on 3 days West. And we're going to really see if he does that and he throws like 6 shutout innings on 3 days rest. He's a machine.
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna catapult himself to the top of the league, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably already has at this point, but even more so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it'll be fun. It'll definitely be fun to look out for. But okay. Um, that said, Matt, why don't we get to our quick hitters? I think it's quick hitters time.
Yep. All right. Jerry Jones Award this week. I'm going to shout out both of our teams for this one. First, I'll go with your team. Your fans, come on. I
Yep.
think you already touched on it. Just
Yep.
probably one of the worst display of like fan interactions in the playoffs in recent years so far. So come on, Dodger Stadium, do better, do better. Like we can be rowdy and all, but we don't need to get out of line like that. But secondly, I'm going to have to throw my team in there, the Yankees, in particular, Jazz Chisholm. I mean, I just think his post game comments were pretty stupid. Um, if I'm the Royals, I'm getting fired up using this as motivation. But he basically called the Royals win lucky today. It wasn't lucky. There's no such thing as being lucky in the playoffs. And maybe if you believe that, don't say it to the media. Like that's just the stupidest thing you could do. So in that sense, I'm worried because I don't know. It's not like football at least where it's like you can just use raw physical emotion, right? You still have to kind of execute. Football, you can kind of hit somebody. It's not a physical game. But I just think to say those comments is just very, very foolish. So congrats, Chaz Chisholm. You're on the Jerry Jones Award debut list.
Yeah. Um, so I was going back and forth for my fans tribute. Um, Lots of guys I could give it out to, but since I watched some of the Sunday night game, he got hurt in it,
Or
but
big.
Herbig, dude, he looked good. I thought he looked good. Opposite of TJ Watt, had half a sack and a TFL, and he jumped on the fumble that Dak had, right? But I thought like, oh, he's like kind of standing out there on those pass rush situations. I know he got hurt, which is unfortunate, but hopefully when he comes back, he continues to excel because it's funny. I mean, like prototypically a little bit undersized, but the speed and I think he catches guys off guard with the power that he has. I don't know. He looked pretty good, so I wanted to shout out to the Kawhi boy Nick Herbig.
All right.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
All right. I guess last one, sports fact. October 7th recording. I'll go to 1984 when Hall of Fame running back Walter Payton passed Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown as the NFL's career rushing leader. At the time, that record would stand until obviously today. Emmitt Smith holds that record. Shout out Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, simple football fact to two Hall of Fame running backs.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, sounds
That's a
good.
wrap.
Yeah, why don't we'll wrap this one this week and pray that, for good
Oh
news
my
next week and
God.
it's not a sad pod. So,
For both of us.
yeah, both of us will
Oh
check
my
back in
God.
next week. Big games for both of our teams coming up, Matt. But yeah, as usual, guys, thank you again. Appreciate you guys listening. Take care, stay safe, have a good week, and we'll see you guys next week.